What's going on? This is the After the Snow podcast, brought to you by Breakbeat Media. You know, we're that new authentically hip hop podcast network. And I'm your co-host, Dave Mays. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Breakbeat. Happy to join you guys every week on this After the Snow podcast, along with my illustrious co-host, Mr. Freeway Rick Ross.
What up, Dave?
What's up? What's up, Rick?
Man, let's get it. Let's get it.
Yeah, feeling
Another
good?
day in the office. Yeah. Things been going all right. You know, we gonna keep fighting, Dave.
Definitely. Tell everyone where you're at, what part of the country, and what you're doing out there.
I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio, one of my old stomping grounds back in the days. Um, at Busy One radio station. Getting
Okay.
ready, man. Can't wait to get started on this new episode. Well, not a new episode; it's an old episode, but it's the first time that we ever ventured into this episode, so should be interesting.
Dope. Yeah, shout out Cincinnati. It's a long history of hip hop in that town, going back to the '80s. I remember when I was first doing the Source and talking to a lot of radio and DJs around the country. Icy D, he was the guy out there really holding hip hop down for the city. Hopefully he's still around and doing well. So shout out Cincinnati.
Somebody just told me the Isley Brothers is from here. Man, I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Cincinnati.
that's crazy. Yeah, Cincinnati is rich though, with talent and with good people. I stayed here about a year and a half,
Yeah.
in my heyday, and I fell in love with the town, man. They had to run me out. The feds ran me out, man. I didn't want
uh,
to go. Hey Dave, I didn't want to go. The feds told me they said you can't stay here.
well, it must be good to be back in your old stomping grounds, visiting and putting in that good work out there for the people.
Yeah, we doing a fundraiser today and tomorrow for uh, orphans, kids that's in foster homes and uh, just different places, because when those kids get out, sometimes they don't have any backing. A lot of times they're in foster homes because their mom or dad went to jail, got on drugs, or maybe got killed, or whatever thing happened, molested in the home, and then when they get out at 18 years old, they don't have anywhere to go. So, shout out to Xavier for raising money for those kids.
Definitely. So we're gonna jump right in. We went back and we started watching the first season of Snowfall. Um, so that's season one, and we just watched episode two, which is called "Make Them Birds Fly." And like I said, I can remember when this first came out a number of years back, and being anticipating watching it, and it kept me going. I mean, the second episode was solid. A lot of interesting things are taking place and stories developing. But I know it's a little different for you. But how'd you feel watching the episode?
Well, you know what? It's more realistic. I can say that much for it. There was some parts that I had some disagreements with. I don't think that they really gave the audience a chance to really see the character grow into the business. It's very seldom that somebody walks into the game and they get a kilo of cocaine, especially at 12,000 a kilo.
Right.
My first kilo I bought day was like 48,000, $45,000. So
Right. Right.
I had to work my way up from a gram of cocaine. So when I see somebody just walk in and the first time they meet the guy, he gives him a key of cocaine. I was like, wow, lucky guy. How
Yeah.
fortunate was he?
They definitely sped the process up to get Franklin up and running and in the mix with the Mexicans and the CIA and the Israeli gangster and so on. They definitely sped that up. So that's all good. It just leaves more material for you, to cover when your movie comes out, to get into more of the background and what you really went through in getting things going, and how you got there, and your own series, which I know you're working on both of those. So you know,
Absolutely, absolutely, and I'm ecstatic to be able, because I think that's so important to really get the gist of what it takes, and I think that's what people want. People want to know how are these people created? How do they come about? Do they just fall out of the sky? And pretty much the way they're showing it here is that he really just fell out of the sky. He ran into Ivy, and Ivy put him down per se, but I never wanted to be put down. When somebody puts you down, they can always take it away from you. So I believe that it's always better when you earn your keep on your
yeah,
own.
yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of interesting characters that we're learning more about as the second episode unfolds. We're seeing some really significant themes that the show is kind of able to tie together in a way that generally makes sense, and is certainly interesting. And that's everything from family, money. Um, the CIA, the Mexicans, race is in the mix already here, between the black folks, the Latinos, and the white people as well. We're seeing all elements of the racial dynamics coming out in this second episode as well. So it's a lot of compelling stuff. Um, I mean, we're getting to know Teddy a little bit better. The new CIA guy who's taken over for the hard partying Logan that OD'd last week.
Yeah, yeah, and Teddy's character, you're getting to see um, basically how he got to where he was when we started the show. So we're definitely getting some understanding from that. And at this time, Teddy seems like he's pretty straightforward. At this time,
Right.
um, not cutting the corners that he does later on in the episodes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well. Yeah. I mean, Teddy to me, they first show him, as kind of just this sort of quiet, unassuming, kind of guy behind the desk, but he seems like he's quickly coming into his own in his new role here, starting to take charge. And like you said, no nonsense. We're gonna close this house down and find a new, stash spot immediately. Of course, he's getting into it with Alejandro over the earring that he found on the scene, and so he's really trying to cover all the bases, but also
And the
um,
blonde hair, he found the blonde hair too. Remember?
that's right, that's right,
So he's figuring that more went on than what Alejandro had talked to him about. He asked Alejandro to be straight up with him, and he knows that he's lying to him. I believe that he knows that he's lying to him.
right,
Remember, he also said he found blood all over the house, so it was more
yeah,
than just one place so that he found blood.
yeah. So that's that no nonsense attitude. Like we're gonna get to the bottom of this. We got to be 100% with each other. But we also start to see him. I think in the scene where he goes back to see Avi the second time, because they showed up at Avi's the first time. There was a lot of drama with Avi pulling the gun on him and accusing him of wearing a wire, and everybody's undressing. That was a pretty interesting scene. And by the time he comes back to see Avi later on in the episode, he's like playing kind of hardball with Avi and says, "Look, man, I'm just here to tell you we're not doing business no more." He calls Avi's bluff and has Avi apologizing to him, and kind of laying down the rules, and even asking to have a drink together. So we're seeing Teddy, quickly go from this unassuming, quiet guy to this new head of CIA drug international drug operations.
And you know what else too? Now, apparently, now, I don't know if I'm wrong or not, but Teddy and them just missed Franklin at the house. Remember, because the guy was sick,
That's right.
and that's what caused all the disturbance when Teddy and them had to leave. And
Yep.
then shortly after that, Franklin comes and takes the same guy to the hospital. That is the same guy, right?
It is. Yeah. Yeah. That
Yeah. So
they did just miss each other. Franklin shows up shortly after um, Teddy and Alejandro leave.
now that could have really been a coincidence, with them bumping heads uh, that early in the scene.
Yeah. Well, they look like they're heading to start to get to know each other, and these are all the kind of main characters we're starting to get a feel for. Um, I wanted to talk about Avi since we're mentioning him. I mean, he's such a a crazy guy. We talked a little bit about him last week and how wild he was in that first episode, and we see we see more of it, but he still um, you know seems to sort of have like a little bit of a fatherly instinct with Franklin and trying to bring some wisdom amidst his craziness. Did you ever run into anybody that resembles Avi in your travels,
Nah, I wouldn't have put up with Avi. No, I wouldn't have put up with nobody pointing no gun at me, talking about put on no vest, telling me I got to strip and get naked. Those are out. Um, when you come with the cash, you don't have to take no bullshit. So I usually came with my cash and let my cash talk. Um, but I haven't ran into anybody, no, drinking and all that partying in the game the way I was in it was definitely a liability. You definitely didn't want to be in those positions, and that's one of the reasons that I don't drink today is because I always thought you wake up drunk in somebody's trunk uh, was definitely not where I wanted to be, and but Avi got an army around him, so I guess he can pretty much do what he want to do.
yeah, yeah. Um, so a couple more people I think we should talk about. Um, Oso is starting to become an interesting guy. Going from this street fighter wrestler character, and now working his way into this Mexican cartel with Lucia and Pedro, that are first cousins. Their fathers are brothers, and they're apparently the heads of this pretty large Mexican cartel. And but also is interesting, you know, as somebody that's kind of going to bring, let's, I don't know if you call it a voice of reason or sort of a sense of standards and morals. He's really upset when he finds out the job that they sent him to do was to steal money from Pedro's dad and Lucia's uncle. And of course, he gets surprised there by one of the dad's guys, and ends up having to kill him. And he's not happy about that. And you see that kind of like, oh, you would betray your own family for money, and he's really concerned about that.
Yeah, he was. I admired that about him as well, because I think it's pretty low when you start stealing from your loved ones. Stealing is one thing, but then when you start stealing from your dad and your mom and your uncles, that's something else. But also, it's kind of falling for Lucille already. He sees this little pretty girl, and
Definitely.
I think he's already started to fall for her, and pretty much anything that she's doing, he's gonna be there to protect her. I think he looks at himself as her protector almost, somebody who's supposed to watch over her, and that was interesting. But yeah, I like Oso's morals and his loyalty too. His loyalty is pretty strong.
Yeah, even like when he in the scene where Teddy, um, and they're over Teddy's, I guess, house. Him and Lucia show up, and they meet Teddy for the first time. Um, he's a little standoffish. Of course, Teddy's acting a little bit, strange and trying to be funny or whatever it is. And but at the end, you know, he shakes his hand, also looks at it, thinks about it, said, okay, if we're going to be doing business together, you know, I'm at least going to shake your hand. That's the type of guy he is. We're seeing that already.
Yeah, you have to wear him down. You have to prove your loyalty to him and your sincerity before he's gonna cut into you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
which I,
So,
I like that about I like that about him.
so we learn, that the reason that the kids here, these cousins, are going to the lengths of robbing their own dad is because they desperately want to get into the cocaine business, and I guess they've been dealing weed, and now they have an opportunity apparently to get into the coke business. They need some cash to make the buy, and this was their plan to steal the money from their dad and put it back before he knew it was missing. But they're definitely very desperate to get into the cocaine business, which is interesting. Again, just to look at the evolution of the drug business in the '80s and at what point cocaine starts to become in more demand.
Well, you know what else really surprised me when they did the numbers, on the cocaine. They were adding up the numbers, and I thought those numbers were pretty significant. Uh, at one time, they saying a kilo is going for $12,000, and then they saying that they're gonna make off of 25 kilos a million, $2.5 million. I'm like, what kind of numbers y'all using? Uh, the numbers are all over the place, uh, and that's a lot of times, that's how the police do with the numbers. They just throw numbers out. They don't really sit down and add up, what's really going on. Because you see, when Franklin is getting the kilos, I think he's getting them for 12,000 from Avi, and I think he's selling them to the girl for 16,000. So that's only 16,000 a kilo. So if you got 25 kilos, 16 a piece. I mean, it's a nice money, but it is nowhere near $2.5 million.
Right. Well, but I wanted to ask you about this because when they go to their secret location, go through some type of club thing, and then they go through the back, of course, and there's their, the Mexican ladies are waiting who are going to be, I guess bagging up the cocaine. They make them strip down. But when she's introducing also to that whole thing, she's breaking it down. You know, all the different levels and steps, but they're not just selling large amounts. They're actually breaking this down and selling it in smaller,
In grams.
amounts. Yeah, grams. He was talking about $100 a gram. But yeah, I wanted to see what you thought of that whole scene
Well,
of like a
well,
coke house setup like that, and some of the other things he mentioned about what they would do. They got to pay this person. The dealer gets 10%. We got to pay off these people. She kind of really went into
it
detail
was a
there.
lot. It was a lot. She was saying a lot. I wasn't able to write everything down, but I caught a few things that she said. She was saying that a gram was going for $100, and then they took in so many losses. They could count on losing 10 bags, bursting, just different little scenarios that I don't know how she was able to predict those things, but at the end of the day, she was. But it's really tough if kilos are selling on the street for 16,000 a kilo. Um, it would take me a few minutes to do the math, but I can imagine that's probably around 16 bucks a gram, roughly. So if one person is selling grams for 16 bucks a gram and then another one is selling them for 100 bucks a gram, it's pretty far fetched. Usually the prices are pretty level around the city. When you're dropping them off, it kind of levels off the prices of what it goes for. So to say that they're getting $100 a gram, it's kind of far fetched when kilos are selling for 16,000.
Yeah. So I know your main supplier ended up being a Nicaraguan. Um, and of course, we have him represented in the show here with Alejandro. But what was the place of the Mexicans at that time in terms of this game? Were the Mexican cartels that prevalent on your scene and in the cocaine business, or did that come later?
The Mexican cartel came later. Um, First, it was the Colombian and the blacks. Were working together. The blacks started to rob the Colombians. Started to take their cocaine, and that's when they went to the Mexican cartel. First, blacks control the market at first.
So the Colombians brought it to Mexicans.
Right, where the Colombians started, once that they found out that the black market wasn't gonna make it anymore, because what happened is once the cops came in and scooped up all the black drug dealers, they in I guess probably like 87, 86, they started like wiping out everybody, all the guys with the names. So once they wiped those guys out, then the Colombian cartels started dealing with other guys who were not hustlers. That's probably where they went to a guy like Franklin who had never sold drugs before and gave him a kilo of cocaine. Well, you know, quite naturally, what the gangbangers going to do, they're going to take it from him. They're not going to pay for it.
Right. Right.
And so
It's
after that started happening so many times, the Colombians kind of wised up and say, you know what, we're going to start giving this to the Mexicans.
hmm. And then the Mexicans would be the intermediaries to any of the black dealers.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, well, it's interesting to learn. I mean, there was a few other things that stood out. Um, the there's a scene where Franklin goes with his mom to help evict this woman out of these, rundown projects or tenements. That the white man, the
Slumlord.
slumlord.
Slumlords. That's what we call them.
Yeah. Um, but Sissy's smart, and she goes in and has Franklin open up the vent and discovers the chicken milk bomb. Um, I didn't know anything about that. You ever heard of a chicken milk bomb?
Never heard of it. Never heard of it.
That sound. I mean, it must be. I'm thinking it must be a real thing. She said that I guess they leave the chicken and the milk in a jar in the vent hidden, and then at some point it expands, it explodes, and it destroys the apartment. So it's a way for you to kind of sabotage the landlord. But um, she ends
Yeah,
up
I heard that. I never heard of that before though.
All
Yeah, that
right,
was a first for me.
we got to Tarek, we got to do some research on the chicken milk bomb. Find out where that
Where did
came
that come
from.
from, huh? Sound like some witch doctor stuff to me. Maybe some Louisiana
Okay, that
uh,
could be,
witchcraft or something. Where they put it together.
could
But
be, could be. Um, and so let's talk about Frank.
it looked like Franklin mom is messing with the slumlord. The way he's putting his hands on her. I don't know if you saw that or not, but
Mm,
but
mm,
Franklin caught that the way he was putting his hand on her waist, and Franklin didn't really care for it. You didn't
right,
see that
right.
right before they threw the milk bomb.
No, I didn't. But remember last week we talked about how her sweater was ripped when she got home. So that could be all the same thing. He might be getting a little rough with her, and you know,
Maybe
yeah,
she doing
that's
some extras. She doing
yeah,
some extras other than collecting rent.
right, right. Well, I think all of this serves as motivation for Franklin. Franklin's like he don't want to see his mom going through this. He don't want to see her having to deal with this type of person, the slumlord. He just he really wants to be able to do more. And we see after this little taste he gets, he's hooked. He's hooked on making money. He's ready to get back and re up. Um, and we also see him starting to have some fun. He does go out and on a spur of the moment and just buy the motorcycle on the street off the guy, and he's off riding. Um, did you ever ride motorcycles? Can't remember if I've asked you that before.
Yeah, I had motorcycles. Yeah, I had a motorcycle that I bought from some guys, Vance and Hines. I don't know if you know who they are, but they was the fastest guys, motorcycle guys in the world. So I bought a motorcycle off of them one time. That had just set a world record. Matter of fact, and I had a couple street bikes too, but I didn't ride much. You know, it was just ride for 15, 20 minutes and go put it up. I was always a little leery of motorcycles for that vulnerability of not being safe.
Right. Right. You know, generally you like to have fun and do some kind of thrill seeking things. You talked about your boats and you know, speedboat and everything. Would
Oh
you?
yeah, dirt bikes. I had dirt bikes. You know, I was more with the dirt bikes than street bikes, but I had street bikes too. You know, I had a Z1 or a Kawasaki.
Okay.
You know, we used to fix them up like low riders, put the fancy paint jobs on them and the wheels. But I hardly rode it. You know, it was just once in a while, just a show thing. You know, when I want to go show off on a Sunday or something like that, you know, you might pull it out and ride down the street and let everybody wave at you. You know, but not a regular motorcycle rider. He looked more like he was using his motorcycle as his transportation. You know, and then I couldn't use a motorcycle as transportation. It was to me too dangerous.
All right. Any other thrill seeking memories you have?
You know, I had the drag car. You know, I had a pro comp car. Was going to jump into the pro stocker was my goal. I thought about one day being a race car driver. You know, becoming a professional race car driver. So I did that as well. I had a few. You know, I had a few. You know, few thrills. You know, when you start having that money, you start to look for ways to broaden your horizon. You know, do some things that you never thought you'd be able to do before.
Yeah. Well, how about these days, Rick? You still, you know, get excited about, you know, thrilling experiences, doing anything along those lines these days?
Not really. You know, when you get older, you know, you slow down a little bit. You don't want to take those falls. You know, when you're younger, you can take those falls on those motorcycles and recover. But when you get old, you recover real slow. So now I think my thrills are creating businesses and winning.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I want to wrap up on Franklin a little bit more. You know, um, you know, he's also starting to quickly come into his own. Like I said, he's you know, he's hooked right away on the money and you know, having the fun, but he's also dealing with problems. He's also continuing to show he can be calm under pressure. You know, he has no problem jumping in Avi's Rolls Royce with a half dead guy in the back seat. You know, just dropping him off at the hospital to help Avi out. And You know, we get a little glimpse of the love interest side of Franklin with Melody continuing his next door neighbor, who he bumps into outside one evening while he's walking home with his bag of kilos. Uh,
Yeah, that was another one. Just walking around with kilos. I mean, cuffing the bag. You know, like damn, put that shit up. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? When I got my first gram, Dave, I was nervous as hell. You know, I thought the FBI was watching me, the CIA, everybody. You know, it's like you know, I don't know. It would be hard for me, you know, first starting out to have a kilo of cocaine. I probably would have drove myself, you know, crazy. I'd been peeping out the windows and everything else, having that much cocaine all at one time.
right, right. Well, so the very end of the episode, Franklin is all excited, got his motorcycle. He got took care of business for Avi. He's got, I guess, two more keys on hand. He's back to go see Claudia at the nightclub, and you know, he thinks everything's cool. They go inside. They sit down. She tries to short him a couple grand and see if he wants to, you know, explore any of the things she got going on in her nightclub after hours. But he says, "Nah, I'm just, you know, just give me my money. Give me the whole 32 grand." So he gets his money, um, and then he goes out to take off in the back. And of course, you know, he's set up by these two, you know, two guys that pull up on him beat the crap out of him, steal his money. Um, so we know he's not going to be happy about that.
That's a lesson. Get that money and run. Don't be hanging around, waiting around, looking. Yeah, because I thought he had time to make a move, and get out of there. When he saw those guys, and I think he waited too late, to make his move. But that's another lesson that he just learned. You got to watch out for the jackets now too.
Right, right. I mean, it looks like the lady of Claudia probably set him up. You know,
Oh,
she,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. She put him up on him, but he got to be alert. When you're talking about walking around the neighborhood, when you're the only one with money. You got 32,000 dollars, and everybody else is pitching pennies. It's a dangerous situation.
yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see how Franklin responds to this and what he's prepared to do to try to get his money because he's got to get that money to Avi now. He doesn't want to let Avi down. So we'll see. We'll see what happens next week.
And you
Um,
don't want to owe Ivy. You don't want to owe
no,
Ivy.
no, he don't. Avi already knows where he lives and everything. So
Ivy's a loose cannon.
so there's great music in the show again this week, which is another staple of the production. Really great music. Even the background sound effects I noticed when you're watching, you're hearing things in the background, the environment and everything are really really well done. Um, but yeah, they end with Franklin getting the shit beat out of him while "Lovely Day" Bill Withers is playing in the background. So. Uh, we're just when you think everything's, looking up, you're catching this beat down and losing all your money.
Yeah, that's tragic.
Yeah, yeah, but good music throughout. So shout out to the Snowfall team on the music selection. John Singleton, the creator of Snowfall, was obviously hands on in this early stages. Rest in peace to John. Um, so yeah, this is after the snow. We're gonna keep going with season one. We'll be back again next week talking about the third episode. We hope that you guys will keep on with the ride. We're working on some more guests that we'll be announcing soon to have back on the show. Um, so yeah, this is after the snow. We're part of Breakbeat Media, home to Don't Call Me White Girl, home to the new Funny Marco podcast coming soon, home to the Unsigned Hype story that's coming, the documentary podcast coming soon, home to Trapping Anonymous. A few more things I might be forgetting, but Breakbeat making its mark out here. We're happy to bring this content to you guys.
Yep, yep. Yeah, well, um, can't wait till next week, man. We get to this next episode and see what happens after the beatdown. See how he's gonna recover this money. This is gonna be interesting. I think it's kind of hard to recover $32,000 in the hood.
Right.
And I know whoever took it don't want to give it back. One thing about robbers, when they take it, they don't plan on giving it back. So this is gonna be interesting to see.
All right, well, stay tuned, y'all. We'll see y'all next week after the snow. We out.
Peace.
Peace.